Hello, everyone. Welcome back to DJ and the Zooms. I am Jay. And today I had the opportunity to have a chat with my friend Corrine, and she's such a great person that we could not stop talking. I think we had a lot of very interesting conversations, a lot of very interesting points that we discussed. So what I've decided to do is to make this into 2 episodes. So this episode will be coming out in 2 parts over 2 different weeks. I think we recorded for about an hour, so we should have between 20, 25 to half an hour episodes for this week and the next. Here it goes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to DJ and the Zooms. I am Jay, and today is episode 2 of this winter series that we're doing, in which I talk to Formula One fans about what got them to Formula One and what they love the most about it. And today we are welcoming my friend Corrine. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm so
Good.
happy to be seeing you face to face, kind of.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm really glad to be sort of meeting you for the umpteenth time, actually.
Right. Because we've known each other almost for a full year now.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. And then we have not actually talked, but we've talked about talking.
Right. Yeah, we've written and texted, but not really chatted. I didn't realize that it had been a whole year. That's crazy.
That kind of it popped up in my memories.
Mhm.
So, yes.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, because we had Brianda on the podcast, when this episode airs, I think it'll be 2 weeks from then. And we mentioned the podcast, no, not the podcast. What am I saying? The group chat, which you actually were a part of creating. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, goodness, it's interesting how the landscape of Formula One fans has even changed in a course of a year, like a whole season. Like I feel like it's so different because when we started this group chat, it was to give women a safe place to discuss Formula One however they wanted to have that discussion. And at the time, I've seen it a little bit less, I feel like now. But at that time, a year ago, it has been a lot of men being just gatekeeping the sport. So, really felt like just wanted to create a safe space for women in their 20s to 40s to just discuss the sport, learn the sport in a safe environment and not feel like they are being judged
Yeah.
for this discussion. As someone who grew up in the 90s and the 2000s and who always was a bit more interested in sports than dolls and makeup and stuff, I always did the safe place to discuss sports was with my family. And so other people were just like, but you're a girl, type of thing. And so I really felt like there just needed to be this nice, safe environment.
That's also something that we mentioned with Brianda was how kind and open the group chat is, and how we really feel like we can say pretty much anything that goes through our minds in this environment, which is really nice. So you were saying that you've always been kind of more interested in sports. How did you start, and how did you get to Formula One specifically?
So I would like to preface, I know this is rare. So I know that I grew up privileged in this regard, but I grew up surrounded by men who supported me being an athlete or being interested in sports. So my dad, I'm the oldest and I have 2 younger brothers. And so my dad never dismissed me from the conversation. So I grew up with NASCAR. I grew up in the Jeff Gordon era. I do remember seeing the Dale Earnhardt crash. Like, there's moments that I remember, like, as a family watching NASCAR, and so he never dismissed me from the conversation. So he would be like, "Oh, who's your favorite driver?" You know? And at the time, it was Rusty Wallace because it was my dad's favorite driver, and so
Mm.
that kind of, like, nurturing from a young age, like, gave me permission to like sports, and so I grew up also David Beckham, like, was always my favorite. My dad never once threw out the whole, like, "Oh, you just like him because he's good looking."
Mm.
Never once did that ever enter the conversation, and it wasn't until I was a teenager when it was like, looking at different athletes and, like Tom Brady coming on the scene and, people being like, "Oh, you just like him because he's good looking." I was like, "Where what?" Like, and so that was such a foreign concept to me
Mm.
because that was never introduced in my house, and so my brothers knew, like, from a young age, like, "You do not tell Corinne, like, she can't do anything," type of thing. And then that led me to then picking a husband who also support me having an equal discussion at the table with sports, and it's something that he and I bond over. Like, we would go to soccer games together. We Dodger games were our date nights, like, for baseball. So, like, that was just something that happened. My father-in-law is very much the same way. Like, he would never dismiss me from the sports that was on the TV. And so being nurtured that way, I
Mm.
think led to the kind of person I am now. And it just broke my heart to see that other women have not received such nurturing.
Yeah.
And so the Formula One, it's actually kind of a funny story. My husband is a doctor, and when we were in residency, it was pandemic in California. This documentary, Drive to Survive, had come on.
Mhm.
And the way my husband knows to get me involved into things is through like a pop culture type of approach. And that's what to Survive did. And so he would be like, "You want to watch this with me? You want to watch this with me?" For a year straight, I was like, "No, absolutely not. I don't have time for another sport.
Mm.
Like, leave me out of it. Like, you do you, I don't." And so I have a very distinct memory. I was thinking about this last night. I have a very distinct memory of Easter 2022 falling asleep on the couch to Max Verstappen's voice over the radio and just being like, "This guy is so freaking annoying. Like,
Mm.
turn this documentary off." And so I was just like very adamant. And then I don't know what happened, but 2023 rolled around, Australia, and my husband's like, "Can I just put on the race?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go for it. Like, I'm gonna fall asleep." I did not fall asleep. And I was glued, I was locked in, and I was like, "Well, what's this? Wait, what are they doing?
Mhm.
Why are there only 20 cars on the track? Like, where are the other 40?" Like, and my husband being like, "This isn't NASCAR." And I'm like, "There's different rules? Like, what do you mean?" And then the radios would pop up because in NASCAR, for the longest time, we could never hear the radios. Like, that was not how we grew up. And so the radios would pop up and I'd be like, "You can hear them? What? Like, there's drama." And so I was
Yeah.
like hooked on this race. Unfortunately for him, it became my whole personality after that. And I
Mhm.
just have not looked back. And when we moved from California to Texas, we made sure he got to go to a Grand Prix. We sent him to the US Grand Prix, and I like lived through him because we had the kids. So I stayed home with the kids, but I put it on the TV. Now it's like a whole family thing. My kids, like, they call it vroom vroom. They're like, "Oh, it's vroom vroom." Again, curating the same culture that was in I grew up with my kids. And so my son is obsessed with Max Verstappen, and we're just like, "Sure, let's just roll with it," type of thing. And
Of
we
course.
each have our person that we roll with, and we love it. And when we got out here, we were like, "Oh, do you want to race?" And he's like, "No, I actually want to work on the cars." And so now we're helping him curate a love of engineering and a love
Mhm.
of mechanics. So, and we that's what we do. Every when a race is on, we're not available. So, As a family, we are not available.
That's so much fun. And there's a lot that I'm sort of resonating with because, first of all, if I stop me if I'm going too far or extrapolating too much, but I'm a daddy's girl and I heard a daddy's girl
Yes, I
in what
am.
you were saying. Yeah.
I am the oldest of the oldest, so yes.
Same, same. First daughter, first grandchild on both sides.
Yes.
So you do kind of get really steeped into the family culture. On my side, it was always more rugby. My parents are big rugby
Mm.
fans. So I played rugby for a while, hated it. I stopped as soon as I got someone bumped me in the face and I split my lip. So yeah, no, that was not it. But I remember like I suppose soccer world championship in 1998, which France won.
Yes, I do.
I remember that we were on holidays and we ended up in a small town watching with a lot of people and it was crazy. But that was, for me, sports were always kind of far away.
Mm.
Other people watched around me and I was never really involved. And the second thing that you said that resonated was that you said you didn't want to watch Drive to Survive.
Mhm.
And Brianda said that she didn't want to get involved into F1 because she knew it would be too much right away. I didn't want to get involved into F1. And when my friend started telling me about it, it started with a friend mentioning it in the presence of my phone, which, as you know, are always listening to us.
Always, yes.
And then I got countless reels about Charles Leclerc.
Oh,
And yeah,
yes.
and so I was like, okay, fine. I- Right, I'll look it up. And I looked
Mhm.
it up on TikTok, and that's where I started seeing more about Formula One. And I was like, fine,
Mhm.
that's okay, that's kind of interesting. My friend said, you could watch Drive to Survive. And I said, okay, I'll watch Drive to Survive, but mark my words, I will never watch a Grand Prix. Fast forward to a month later. I think I watched all of Drive to Survive in like 3 weeks. There were 5 seasons because I started watching in 2023. And I watched the 5 seasons in 2 weeks and was hooked and started watching, obviously, in Baku 2023. But it's funny that we all started saying, I'm not going to get into that. And
Mm.
then you don't choose.
You don't. It just sucks you in. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
have a question because you were so adamant about this, and I have an answer, but I want to know, have your opinions changed? So you watched Drive to Survive in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Did you form and curate opinions about the drivers while watching the show, and has that changed
Yes and no.
since?
There was so in the first few seasons of Drive to Survive, there's a narrative that is put in place around Max Verstappen, and I suppose this is where you were
Mhm.
getting at.
Yes.
My friend got kind of influenced by that, and so
Mhm.
she, at before I even started watching Drive to Survive, told me we don't like Max because he's not
Right.
nice,
Right.
and he's rude to journalists and in general, and blah blah blah. And but as I watched it, couldn't I kind of didn't believe it.
Mm.
Um and I at the same time I got attached to Daniel Ricciardo.
Mhm.
And because I rewatched Drive to Survive later on and noticed after getting more into Formula One, the sport itself, and then learning more about the personalities and the drivers, etc. Then in my second rewatch, I really noticed the narratives that are pushed by Netflix,
Mhm.
especially around Max, who it turns out is more a sweetheart than anything else.
Right. Right.
Around not so much Daniel because he's always portrayed as a hero and a goof, and I
Mhm.
think it sort of aligns with who he seems to be.
Mhm.
And Lando, because he was Daniel's teammate, and Daniel had to be the good guy, and so Lando had to be the bad guy. And there are some things that are framed in Drive to Survive in a way to make
Mhm.
him appear not as likable as he would be.
Right.
And also listening to other podcasts. I remember listening to, because I'm a huge fan of Kristen Bell.
Mm.
And so I listened to Armchair Expert, so her husband's podcast.
Podcast, yeah.
And he then started a podcast around Formula One because they got into it at the same time
Mhm.
as we all did. And in one of his episodes, he said that he disliked Lando for what he did to Daniel, which when you listen to them, be it Lando or Daniel, outside of Drive to Survive, you realize he didn't do anything to him and they're actually super great friends.
Mhm.
So I think I can say that I tried to keep suspicious eye while watching it at first. And so I didn't get sucked into the narratives that were pushed on me.
Mm.
And at the same time, I started doing my own research and getting to know them a lot more. And
Mhm.
so I could form my own opinions. But the one person whom I did not like at first is Pierre,
Okay.
because he reminds me of my bullies in middle school.
No.
Yeah. And
No.
so I thought he seems like an asshole. I don't want to, I want to have nothing to do with him. And then I fell in love with his girlfriend. And so I started to accept him. And then
Mhm.
I went to Silverstone in the winter to visit the museum and took a selfie with his car, posted it to my stories, and he replied. And I was like, okay, now I
Oh.
like him.
Oh, what a gem.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And did you like get the same sort of
Yeah,
biases?
but I got sucked in. I
Mm,
got sucked into the narrative. So I was like, oh, we do not like Max, which is why initially I was like, oh, my son likes Max. Like, this is so frustrating. That's always the question. And I don't know if it can't be just an American sport thing because I'm thinking of Premier League also, but like you have to have a villain apparently. So in sports, like that's
mm,
just what it is. And so right now here in the States, it was the Kansas City Chiefs. Like everyone can't stand them, type of thing. And so for a while it was the Patriots. Like that's just kind of how it runs in America. And so I was like, oh, we don't like Max. I didn't really like Esteban Ocon either. I
mm.
was like, oh, this guy's got tude on tude on tude. And then I started learning more about the sport, watching interviews, and I was like, okay, these guys can have tude. They're driving 200 miles an hour. They're putting their lives at risk every single race. Every single time they get in that car, their life is at risk. So I was like, they can have tude. And so then this last year, I don't know, Esteban had a glow up because I'm like, that
He
man, like
did. Yeah.
he is fine. And so I've really enjoyed it's kind of similar, like removing all of the media stigma. And I've been able to now persuade my husband because my husband does not like Max either. And the whole like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen debate and just like, and I was just sitting here and I was just like, I don't think it is what it is. And so it took my husband a while to come around, but now it's like now I've been able to inform him and be like, okay, but this is how he was brought up. This is the
Yeah.
kind of dad he grew up with, um, and provide more backstory to these men's lives.
Hmm.
And I think that's the interesting and the great thing about women in sports, not necessarily playing the sport, but being spectators and participants in watching the sport, is that we tend to be a little bit more nostalgic, a little bit more um, curious about the humanity behind.
Yeah.
Um, Once I made them human, to
Exactly.
my husband, he was like, Oh, and so then it just kind of changed the dynamic in our household. And so now, yes, we do have our favorite drivers. Like I rooted for Lando till I died this season. My husband's a Carlos Sainz fan now. He was originally a Daniel Ricciardo fan, and obviously my son, I said Max Verstappen. And so, we have our favorites, but like we really just look at the whole grid and we're just like obsessed with the whole grid for different reasons. And
Yeah.
so I think that's what frustrates me about the comments about like, oh, you're such a Drive to Survive fan. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with using it as a platform. And I think that's why I wanted to ask you that question, is because it was a platform, right? To like
Yeah.
start. And now look at how we've grown as fans and like
Exactly.
really taken the sport and owned it
Mhm.
ourselves. So I
It's just a
just
doorway, and then once you're into that world, you can really explore it.
Yeah, and I think that's, like, my big thing that, like, I would why I'm so protective over younger women on the internet is, like, when that gets thrown at them, I'm just like, "Oh, hell no." Like, that's not an excuse, you know? So
Exactly.
and putting people down, like and that's how you lose fans in a sport? So, that's why I was just I was, like, really curious. I'm like, "Oh, how have you evolved, since then?"
Yeah. I the thing is, once I get interested in something, I have to know everything about it.
Same.
And so that's it. Once you get into it, it's like it's oh shoot, I have a French expression in mind, but I don't.
Please share because the French have the best expressions.
Mais it's like mettre le doigt dans l'engrenage. So like you've got like a mechanism, and if it has cogs that go like
Mhm,
this, and you put your finger in it, it's gonna get sucked in, and then your
mhm,
entire body's gonna get into it.
mhm.
And so that's the thing with Drive to Survive. You put your finger into it, and then your entire body's sucked in, and you have to
Yes,
know so much about it.
yes.
And it is because we are interested in the human side of it, which is put forward in the show, and then you get interested in everything that goes around it. And because you start to like these people, you start to root for them, and you want to understand how and why they could do well and or better.
Mhm.
And so you get into the mechanics, the strategy, everything.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's how you can really evolve into it, I think, and we tend to be 100% into it.
Mhm.
What would you say is your favorite part about Formula One as a whole?
Gosh, that's such a great question. Oh, okay. So there's because so my husband's a doctor, but he's also a master of science. So there's a scientific um like certain humans, when the hair stands up on their arms when they hear music. Apparently there's like a whole thing, like only certain people who are moved by music, like their hair will stand up on their arm. When I hear it's lights out and away we go. Like I can tune out for different parts of the race. I can be in the kitchen cooking, I can listen. I have to be at a standstill just to watch those lights
Hmm.
go. And I know it's a really like minute and silly thing about Formula 1, but is there something just about like holding your breath
Yeah.
on that first turn and just watching what's gonna happen, and, like, my hair always stands on my arms because I'm just like and there's a silence that goes over my house
Mm-hmm.
as we're just watching, and I think that's just one of my favorite things is just that initial, like, it's lights out and away we go, and it's like its own thing, like, that only
Yeah.
is in Formula 1, and so I think that just that initial start, man, there's just something about it that just like really gets me locked in. And I think it's just you won't find something like that in any other sport. Or other sports are dictated by whistles.
Yeah.
So I think I love that so much. Just
That's
watching
so
those lights.
cool. That's actually such a cool answer. It does hold. I think it's kind of poetic as well.
Yes.
Um, Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And I think, just that last race, like, I just replaying that first, like, I was just, like, leaning forward, and I was just like, "Come on, Lando, come on. Like, I want this so bad for you," type of thing, and just
Mhm.
I think of, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Truman Show.
Oh, I have several times.
Okay, where the guy in the bathtub is holding on to the shower curtain,
Yeah,
rooting for
and they're
for
all watching
Truman.
it. Mhm.
Yes, and rooting for Truman. "Come on, Truman, come on." And it's just like that same thing of like, "Come on, Lando, come on," type of
Yeah.
thing, and just like, "You can do it, like, just don't die," type of thing, and
Mhm.
so and just like watching the brilliance that is Max Verstappen. I mean, look, people can say whatever they want about the man, but like the amount of times I've seen him come from pit to like fifth or fourth to first, like unreal. And just watching the aggressive passion, it's just unreal. And so
Mm.
I love that first turn. I love those lights that go out. And so it really just, I don't know,
It
there's
is.
just nothing like it.
It's super cool. And yeah, same. I always lean forward and you get
Yes.
this sort of all feeling through your whole body of warm and excited
Yes.
and yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and it's so stressful.
It is.
It is so my mom will be like, "Why do you like this sport?" And I'll be like, I don't actually know. Just addicted at this point." Like, there's no other."
It, it makes my anxiety flare up.
That's right. So, um, so yeah, there's nothing like that for sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening until the end. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, share the videos, posts, anything and everything, and blast this throughout the world. I love you. Bye.